And then I can just edit it for my own private life. I put the good stuff online. But, the rest of it for my own private life. You gotta have those humorous things. All right, everybody good? We're gonna go ahead and get started? Okay. All right, so we open up with a word of prayer. Father God, we just thank you for this day.
Thank you.
Lord, we are grateful that you have brought us together this evening, God, with another opportunity to learn and develop our leadership skills.
Yes,
We're thankful for the opportunities, Lord God, just to grow in the knowledge of who you are. God, we know that Jesus was a leader. God, we know that the principles that we can learn, Father, about leadership allow us to be more effective in discipleship, God, in servicing your kingdom, God, and allowing our light to shine. And not be hid under a bush. So, Father, we pray tonight that you would just speak through this time and through this place and through each and every person who comes and shares their comments. God, be with those yet making their way out and watch over those who are not yet here, as well as those who are here. We thank you for this time, this opportunity. None of me but all of you, Father. May your words go forth and accomplish much. In Jesus' name we pray.
In Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen.
All right. So, tonight we are going to begin with this idea that everyone communicates and few connect.
Okay. Pastor's going to join us.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. So welcome to all who are joining us, those who are joining us online, as well as those who are joining us via phone and those who are here in presence. I am excited about the next 10 weeks. All right. So this is going to take us about 10 weeks as we go through this whole idea of what it looks like to be a communicator and, more importantly, to be a connector.
Okay.
Now, we spent the last 2 weeks discussing leadership in its broadest sense. We talked from an overview perspective of leadership being influence, of leadership providing vision, goals, and motivation. We spent considerable time last time we were together, investing in what that looks like. What does it look like when you have a vision? How do I work and bring my vision to fruition? What is a vision itself? And we talked about end state, and we talked about working backwards and creating goals. The steps that we will use to accomplish, checkpoints along the way to make sure that we're still getting where we want to get.
Exactly.
We also talked about the fact that not every day is it a step forward. And sometimes you take a step back. Sometimes your budget gets cut. Sometimes you have less resources than you had previously planned. And so consequently, your ability to motivate your team and keep them growing and going in the direction that you're looking for were important. And so we kind of talked about all of that. So now we are going to begin developing the skills necessary in order to make sure that our vision, that our goals, and our motivation are given to each and every part of our team correctly. All right. My belief, and John Maxwell's belief, is that everybody's out there yammering it up, right? You got something to say, you got something to say, and you got something to say. And especially when you're in a leadership position, it is expected that you have something to say. That people are going to look to you for the answers. It's generally the way the leader perceives their role. The problem, however, is that sometimes as leaders, we'll start off well, showing everybody, hey, this is our communication, this is what we want to see happen, this is our grand vision, and then we wonder why nobody's following us. Right? Because we start off strong and everybody's looking at our words, but somewhere along the way it's like the initial buzz fades, the honeymoon wears off. We talked about leadership both being organizational and being personal. So, you know, I'm married and I'm like, yeah, we're going here, and then wait a second, you are still leaving the toilet seat up. Right. And I just didn't realize how much that was going to annoy me, but now, nothing else to do.
Sit on it in the night. You're late.
Exactly.
Just saying.
Exactly. So as I strive to understand why my communication is lacking effectiveness, why the vision's no longer being ran after as hard, why the first setback in the road seems to have become the immovable object, it may have something to do with our ability to connect. Because connecting goes past just communication. Connecting is my ability, and from the perspective of the leader, how I approach each and every individual who I'm going to be working with. And so we're going to be examining this idea of the book, John Maxwell's everybody communicates, few connect, is where we're deriving a lot of our information from. And you all have a pamphlet as well, and it's going to end up being 28 pages when you're done. All right, but we're going to be working through that together. So now, before we go any further, however, I want to just show you a quick video. John Maxwell is going to talk about his first of his 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. If you've never heard of these 21 laws, they're kind of what he considers to be the baseline and the foundation of good leadership. Now, I kind of thought to myself that the Lord only gave Moses 10 laws. I don't know why he felt the need to give John 21. Jesus came along and turned those 10 laws into 2.
Okay.
And I said, well, maybe it's my job to turn this 21 into 10. I don't know. All right? But we're only going to look at one of them this morning. All right? So we're just going to take a little bit of time here and just examine this. So it's up here on the screen. The first law is the law of the lid. And I really just want you to just give consideration to it. Because it really sets the tone for how we should approach leadership. It can be easy to be like, oh, well, it's just leadership, it's not a big deal. But I think he explains pretty clearly here why we have to be serious about leadership, especially if we're going to lead, especially if we're going to do ministry, especially if we're going to be effective and create impact in the community and in our families. All right, so here we go.
You want the white out or no?
Everybody can see it, we don't need to.
Which basically says our leadership determines the level of our effectiveness. Now, there's not one law more important than the other laws, and yet I put this law first because if I can do a good job for the next couple of minutes teaching it to you, you'll begin to have a passion to learn the other 20 laws. Why? Because this law basically says how well you lead determines how successful you are. Now, perhaps the best way for me to teach this law is to visually demonstrate it to you. So let me use my hands as an example, and let's say that this hand represents my leadership ability. This is how well John Maxwell leads, and this hand represents my business. Hey, for you, my coaching business, my speaking business, the things that we're going to work together to help increase your influence and your skills and your abilities. Now, if this hand represents how well I lead, okay, this is my leadership lid, and this hand represents my business, my coaching, my speaking. Here's what I know about my business. It will go up to my leadership lid, but it will rise no higher. In other words, whatever my leadership skills and ability would be at this moment, they will put a lid upon my business potential, my coaching potential, my speaking potential. Here's what has never happened in the history of mankind. In the history of mankind, there has never been an organization, a company, a group that had a leadership lid of which their business passed their leadership skills and effectiveness and continued to grow and continued to prosper, and their leadership was at this level and their business and their success was at this level. It's impossible. It's never happened anywhere. It's not going to happen to you. It's never going to happen to me. It's not going to happen. So what am I saying? I'm saying that whatever your leadership lid is right now, whatever my leadership lid is right now, whatever it is, it literally is the lid on my potential. In other words, I am only going to be as successful as my ability to lead. I cannot lead any more people than I can influence. So, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for me? It means very simply that first of all, there's a lid on our potential, and that lid is our leadership. What it also means is that for us to increase our potential, to be a better coach, to be a better speaker, to be more successful in life, what we have to do is we have to increase or raise our leadership lid. So let's go back to the illustration. If from a 1 to a 10, let's say I'm an average leader, I'm a 5. What that means is my business is a 4. Now my business is a 4. No matter what state I'm in, no matter what company I'm with, no matter what organization I belong to, it's a 4 because my leadership lid contains my success. It won't allow my business to grow beyond it. But here's the good news. You can learn to lead. In fact, that's one of the reasons that I'm coming on this journey with you. I want to be with you to help you increase your potential and have skills that can increase and advance, that'll give you an unlimited, beautiful future. So, if my leadership lid is a 5, my coaching business is a 4, how can I become a better coach? How can I expand my speaking business? It's very simple. I have to raise my leadership lid from a 5 to a 6 to a 7, maybe to an 8. Now, what happens when I raise the lid on my leadership? Now my business has potential to grow, and my business goes from a 4 to a 5 to a 6 to a 7. In other words, my business will follow my leadership skills. Now, the number one question I'm asked is, people raise their hand, they'll say, John, are leaders born? Now, when they ask this question, I always laugh, and I'm a little amused by the question. When they ask me, are leaders born, I always give the same answer. I'll give you the same answer. Of course they are. I've never met an unborn leader, and I don't particularly want to either. Thank you very much. You see, what they're really asking is not, are leaders born? Of course, leaders are born. Non-leaders are born. We're all born. What they're really asking is, are there some people they're born with leadership gifts and abilities, and they've got it, and there are some people that they are born with none, and so they don't got it. And if you got it, you lead, and if you don't got it, you follow. Well, I have good news for you. You can learn to lead. The reason I know that is for many decades now, and for 40 years now of teaching leaders and teaching leadership and raising up leaders, I have taught and I have seen people who had very few, very limited leadership skills and abilities really begin to grow because I taught them the law of the lid, and I taught them how to raise their lid. I taught them that leadership is influence, and the ability to influence people is a result of adding value to people. And anyone can learn to intentionally add value to others, and so therefore anyone can learn to influence more people, and influencing more people gives you a greater leadership lid. So here's what I know. If you're going to be successful in life, the first place you work on to help yourself really grow and develop is in the area of your leadership. And the moment that you begin to expand and grow and develop your leadership lid, all of a sudden, your coaching business, your speaking business, whatever business you're in, will begin to follow and begin to grow also. That is the law of the lid.
All right.
Right. Yeah.
Law of the lid. Okay, so now, with that in your mind, everybody has their form. Let's see, there's a couple extra sheets for people who just came in. We can make some extra copies if necessary. What I want you to do is, let's see, here on the front page, right above the table of contents, in that space at the bottom, I want you to write in there what number you think your leadership is at. What would you place, where would you place your leadership lid number on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, you know, just the most effective leader. Talking about, you know, Dr. Maxwell, Dr. Martin Luther King, you know, presidential type leadership, and then 1 being, you know, man, I can barely get myself dressed in the morning, roll out of bed, and make it to class on time. 1 to 10, go ahead and write in here, just in that space, again, on page number 2, the space underneath number 10, connectors live where they communicate, but before the bottom, just go ahead and write in there your number. And this is just for you. The reason we're writing this is just because we want to know where we're at and where we're going. We want to know where we're at currently, and then at the end, excuse me, we're going to have, we're going to redo this exercise just to see how we've grown from there. Okay? All right, so let's turn the page, and let's talk about this just for a moment. John said a couple of really good things in there while he was talking about leadership, and he was talking about this idea of a lid. He kept referring to, obviously, your business and how you can only go as high in your business, but a couple of things, obviously, are relatable to ministry, to your ministry as well as to your personal life. And when we give consideration to that, one of the things that I wanted to remind everyone about, and that I thought was really important, was that he talked about adding value. Adding value. Adding value is so important. So we are leaders, not from a point of view to get all the attention on ourselves, not from a point of view to have everybody looking at us, and saying, hey, they're so great, you know, Mrs. Taylor, she's so awesome, she's the very best at everything she does, I just want to be like her. That's all well and good, and that's what some leaders will do. They will say, I'm up here on the mountain, come and join me. But good leadership is not like that. And I believe that the leadership Christ displayed is not like that. And so, in fact, we saw a really good demonstration of the kind of leadership that we all should strive for at Sunrise Service. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
Watching of the feet.
Washing of the feet, exactly. The ability to add value to somebody by saying, even though I'm the leader of this organization, I'm the senior person in charge, I'm still humble enough to come and say, I'll wash your feet, speaks highly of your ability to add value and your ability to influence. Because if the pastor is willing to wash the members' feet, is there anybody else who should be willing or not willing or too good or anything like that? And so, obviously, Pastor and Elder Vanessa and Pastor Michael were doing what? They had seen Jesus do. And so Jesus, the best leader of us all, goes on and says to his disciples, I'll wash your feet. Now, this was a servant's job, and hence the reason we get the term servant leadership. And so all that we're going to be talking about comes from this viewpoint of being a servant leader and being able to connect with people from an idea that I'm going to add value to their lives. All right? Any questions, any thoughts on that? Anybody think they would have an issue washing the feet of their organization? Their people who they lead, their family members. Anybody ever tried that at home, just in their personal life? No, we're gonna wash everybody's feet. Everybody thought about it. Okay.
Just go to the salon.
Just go. Alright, just go to the salon. There you go.
Pay for you to.
Right, get your toes done and stuff.
Right.
Definitely. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. This is the approach we're coming from. So if you're looking for leadership that elevates you and everybody's like giving you all the praise and glory, sorry, you're kind of in the wrong class for that kind of stuff right here. You have to take that somewhere else. But we're talking here about that kind of servant leadership that adds value, and from there allows us to connect and influence everyone who comes in contact with. Go ahead.
Back in the days, washing the feet symbolized something then. What would it equate to now? Because it really, a lot of people don't understand the symbolism of it.
Right.
So today, what would it, just in saying, what would it be equivalent to today?
So
Yeah.
can I?
Go ahead.
The thing it symbolizes today is servant leadership. That's what Jesus modeled the whole time. He said, I came to serve. And so what he wanted to teach his disciples was to be servants. And he said, those of you who would be chief servants. So we, in our society today, we always want to be the HNIC. We want to be the one that's on the top. We want everybody to serve us. Everywhere, when you go somewhere, you meet somebody, who's the leader? Who is everybody serving? But Jesus didn't really model that. Jesus modeled that he was a servant. When he fed the 5,000, he broke the bread, he healed people. He had his hands very much active in there. And so that's what he was teaching his disciples. I want you to be servants out here. I want you to teach others how to serve, because that's what we want each other to do for one another. Okay. So that's why go ahead.
But in today's society, just in saying the mentality, what would washing the feet be equivalent to now? You go out and do it like those. There was a show where the boss goes out and does the work that the workers do, something like that.
Right, exactly, and that's what I'll let you go ahead. You
that's just what I was gonna say. I was gonna say for me, it's kind of like leading by example. Like I'm gonna be in there in the trenches with you doing the work. I'm like, I know Jeremy, like especially on his job, he'll say there are some supervisors that just come and they'll just like stand here and be like, okay, you need to do that. Okay, you need to da. But it was just like I was telling my coworker, my boss, anybody's out and she doesn't have floaters, she's in your seat and she's filling in and she's doing the work. She's going to see the patient. She's on the floor. She's taking the applications. Like I'll come back and she'll be like, please send this application of yours in the mail. Like, that's what it kind of makes me think of, is they're showing you this is the way, and I'm not just telling you, like, once you get done with training, that's the last you see of me. Like, no, if you need me to fill in, if you need me to come and get hands-on, I'm showing you how to put this together. I'm willing to come beside you and help any day of the week. Like, I'll, like lead, like, I'm in the mix. You can't really tell, oh, your pastor's the one who's over there doing that, that's your leader, or, oh, that's your boss right there that's in the mix. Like, that's
And we have that example at the car wash. When we were doing the car wash with the kids, and they came, and the guy came, he said, oh, he's the pastor, he's the one washing cars. And just like I've been to a restaurant where they were short staffed. Staff didn't show up. And so the manager was out there waiting on tables. We apologize, we got y'all, what can I get you, what can I bring you? That's the example for today.
Exactly. And we see so much of that. We see so much of that on the good side, and we also see so much of that on the bad side, where we wonder, where is the leader? You know, how do you see the people out here working so hard, short staffed,
Longhorns on Sunday.
you're just sitting back there wondering. So, you know, those are definitely where we can see it. All of us, so clearly all of us have been in those kind of situations, or been on the receiving end of that kind of service. How does that look at home? Any thoughts on how that can look at home?
Yeah, I mean, okay, as parents, at least sometimes, at least I can remember my mama would say, do such and such. Because I told you to do it. I'm the parent, you the child, you get up and do it. You know, they sit there like they're supposed to, and it doesn't, you know, parents sometimes feel that, hey, you do it. You know, and y'all supposed to sit back and look like it.
And she might say that on the kind of on the negative side, but on the positive side of that is that, you know, showing them how to do it. Come on in the kitchen, I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to watch you do it. I'm going to give you that skill set. You know, when here's how you do your laundry. You put your clothes in this, you put your clothes in that, you put your clothes in that, and then I'm going to watch you do it, and then I'm going to come back and make sure you did it right. And if it's a lot, you know, I'm not just going to tell you go do the laundry. You know, the washing machine broke. So instead of us washing every 4 days, by now it's two weeks worth of clothes there. So I know it's his turn this week. But that's my child. So I'm not going to let him go in there by himself and do the 2 weeks worth of laundry. I'm going in there and I'm going to help him. I'm going to lead the way we're going together.
Exactly.
That's what I was saying, like a hands-on. My mom would, you know, do us. She show us something and just take charge, but she showed you because she's saying, you know, I'm not going to always be with you. I'm showing you this. One day you're going to have to leave and you're going to have to teach your kids or your friends or whoever, your sisters and brothers, how to do the same thing.
Right.
And I used to say by being the older one, he said, no. but you got to thank God for it in the end, though.
Right.
Because it really helps you.
Exactly. And what I think is important about what you all are saying is that you're preparing the next generation of leaders. And from a leadership perspective, anytime we're in charge of an organization, we should be identifying, right, the next generation of leaders. Who's going to carry this message on when I'm gone? Whether you pass away, whether the Lord takes you to another place, whether you go off and have a different experience, or even if you just get sick one day and you can't make it in, somebody needs to be ready to step up. Somebody needs to be prepared to carry on. And so the same way in which I developed that at home, because you're going to grow up, we know that's inevitable as parents to our children. As leaders, we have to consider that same thought process. Now, in order for us to effectively do that, we have to be able to connect with those people who we're leading.
And you know what, just to say along that line, it's a blessing to you when that happens. When you have effectively transferred that thing to where they pick up the mantle if you're otherwise occupied. Just like when we were in there on Sunday and we were washing feet. And so whenever we were done and we came back over here, Rachel had came over. She had the pancakes stacked up. I was like, ooh, thank you, Jesus. Because, you know, she saw that needed to be done.
Right.
And didn't nobody tell her. She just came over here and said, well, let me get this done. She looked in there and saw it was done. She took the next step. So that's some connection. She had got that somewhere.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what we're trying to each develop in our organizations, in our families, in our ministries. So let's go to session number 1. Connecting increases your influence in every situation. The quote at the beginning says, the number 1 criteria for advancement and promotion for professionals is an ability to communicate effectively. The number 1 criteria for advancement and promotion for professionals is an ability to communicate effectively. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Agree. Okay, so we all agree that communication is important. And we know that when we're talking about our vision, as well as talking about the goals to accomplish our vision, it's vitally important that we're able to communicate clearly to each and every person who's a part of our team what we're trying to do. Now, presidential historian Robert Dallek says that successful presidents exhibit 5 skills and qualities that enable them to achieve things that others don't. All right, those 5 skills are as follows. Number 1, vision. Vision. Do y'all have a pen over there? Right there with it? Got something? Okay. All right. So number 1 is vision. Number 2, pragmatism. Pragmatism. P-R-A-G-M-A-T-I-S-M. P-R-A-G-M-A-T-I-S-M. Number 3, consensus building. 2 words. Consensus building. Number 4, charisma. Charisma. And number 5, trustworthiness. Alright, so again, number 1 is vision. Number 2 is pragmatism. Number 3, consensus building. Number 4, charisma. And number 5, trustworthiness. Now, of those 5, I want you to put a star by each one that deals with connecting. Each one that deals with connecting. And I'll give you a hint in the form of a math problem. 80% of your options should have a star by it. 80% of your options should have a star by it. You're putting a star by each of the putting a star by all the ones that have to do with connecting. Of the 1 through 5, and 80% of them should have a star by it. All right, so here's your answers. You should have a star by number 1, number 3, number 4, and number 5. Number 1, number 3, number 4, and number 5. All right, everybody got that?
No, I didn't put 4.
You didn't put 4?
I didn't put 4 either.
Okay.
I didn't see it.
All right.
You know, but you do have to have that ability
That
to
charisma.
speak. And you gotta have that charisma.
Yeah.
You get it to pop
Right.
out to the people,
Right.
because they looking at you, they want to reconnect, you know, you're trying to connect with them, so you gotta have a little charisma.
Okay, all right. So just kind of a real quick overcap. Everyone should generally know what vision is. We spent a lot of time with that last time, but it's basically your idea and your end state, what it should look like. All right. Consensus building is your ability to generate as a team, everybody being on the same page. So it's your ability to push the vision out or push your ideas out and get exactly the buy-in. All right. Charisma is your personal exuberance, right? That energy that you bring to the group. Trustworthiness is, say again?
I guess maybe that's why I didn't put it on.
All right, so we learning about ourselves already. All right, so charisma, that ability to do things lived out is trustworthiness. See, people will listen to you and follow you because you're in a position. But people will continue to follow you because you've proven trustworthy. All right, and then pragmatism is just your straight to the point, kind of this is what it's going to be, and it doesn't involve, it's more the black and white, hey, these are the steps we're taking, as opposed to needing to connect with people. So that's why the 4 of the 5 deal with connecting. Connecting is the ability to identify with people and relate to them in such a way that it increases our influence with them. Connecting is the ability to identify with people and relate to them in such a way that it increases our influence. So these are going to be 2 ideas that we're going to be looking at over the next few weeks. All right, what does it mean to identify with somebody? And then what are the skills we need to develop in order to relate to them? All right, so if that you're thinking to yourself, man, I'm not good with identifying with people. I'm not a people person. I'm an introvert. I like to be the wallflower. And please, I don't need a wall in order to be the wallflower. I'll be a wall. Okay, if that's you, we're going to give the skills because your ability to increase your influence, leadership is influence. All right, so leadership is influence. So we definitely need to have those skills in order to be effective. Now we're not going to talk about that so much. What I'm about to say next in this class, but as we go forward, one of the things we're going to talk about is team building. All right, and in the event that you know that you're not the extrovert, in the event that you identify areas as we're going through where you're weak, the good thing about having a team is that you can surround yourself with people who are strong in those areas. You can surround yourself with people who basically strengthen your weaknesses. And so keep that in mind as well as we're going through identifying these areas. So connecting signals. What is a connecting signal? What's that bring to mind?
Things that bring people together.
All right, things that bring people together. All right, something that signals to somebody, hey, I want to connect with you. I want to be a part of what it is that you have going on. Now, from a servant leadership perspective, an add value to you kind of perspective, what do we think that might look like? And I know there's some questions down here, so we're going to go into it, but I just want to see if anybody has any thoughts before we start filling in blanks. Okay.
Building people up.
Okay.
By encouraging them. You do X so well. I appreciate that you do.
Okay.
So on and so.
All right, and that's perfect because it's actually the first answer. All right, so connecting signals, extra effort, people go the extra mile, unsolicited appreciation. Unsolicited appreciation. They say positive things. All right, so if you're the leader and you're going to be trying to connect with somebody, you have to give unsolicited appreciation, or that should be a part of your repertoire. It should be something that you're routinely checking yourself to see if I did it. When's the last time I told such and such things? When's the last time I told such and such, hey, you're doing a great job. I see you. I acknowledge the work that you have going for. When I used to play intramural basketball, we had a coach. We were serious about our game. We did a lot of training in the off season. You know me, you know that. Yes, in the off season, and we beat everybody too. 3 years running, we on our business. Anyways, one of the things my coach used to tell me when he would tell me to run the point, he would say to me, "Hey, a person has to touch the ball every 3 trips. They have to touch the ball every 3 trips."
Before somebody shot.
Well, not necessarily before they shoot. But if they haven't touched the ball in 3 trips, they're going to check out. They're going to check out the game. Because you're running down the court, you see somebody else shoot, you run back on defense, you guard. You run back down the court, you see somebody else shoot, you run back down on defense, you guard. You run back down the court, and why I'm running up and down this court if I ain't getting the ball? And so he said the point guard's responsibility, the floor general, the one responsible for bringing the ball up most times, needs to make sure everybody on the team is touching the ball on a regular basis. Well, my point is the same thing as the leader. When's the last time you told somebody thank you? When's the last time you said you're doing a good job? When's the last time you went out of your way to acknowledge the effort that they're bringing to the situation? So unsolicited appreciation, when I'm trying to connect with somebody, when I'm leading a group, when I'm adding value, they say positive things. All right? The next one, unguarded openness. Unguarded openness. They demonstrate trust. Unguarded openness. They demonstrate trust. Now, when we're considering what it means to be open, what do we think that means? Being open. And then, especially when it says they demonstrate trust. Say again, brother?
I was just gonna say being honest.
Being honest, okay. All right, being vulnerable.
Letting your guard down.
Right, letting your guard down. Now, why would that be a hard thing for a leader to do?
Sometimes a leader think he has to be so strict or so formal to, because he wants to, he thinks that's the way of gaining everybody's trust or everybody's face.
What'd you say?
Respect.
Respect, right. It seems to be an image, right, that I have to be in charge, and the only way I can be in charge is if everybody respects me or if everybody sees me as the hard one with all the answers.
And you don't want to show vulnerability. Just generally, as a leader, if you're, that's a fine line.
Right.
Because if you're too vulnerable, people just think you weak. They're gonna try you. So it's a fine line to walk where you are.
Okay.
Where I err on the side of just being open, because I'm just coming back with a vengeance if you try me.
I feel like it's very true. If you're gonna be a leader, you gotta have your ground, man. If somebody feel like they can overtake you,
Right.
you're not gonna be as successful or effective.
Okay. So let's just follow this path. Is this wait? Let me just ask this first. Is this a general thought process that as a leader, you have to be guarded, kind of careful about making a point to say, hey, I'm the leader. You can only come so far. Otherwise, everybody will run over you.
I think it depends on the person also. I mean, you got people who, even if you're open and vulnerable to them, they understand and they respect you. They understand this is the position he is, or this is my leader. Then there's people that's like, they look for your weaknesses and they'll try to overtake you.
Right, okay. And definitely, just that, again, we got agreement here from the group that there are people out there. Okay, but those people who are out there looking for your weaknesses and opportunities, you still have to connect with them, correct? Right, and we're still challenged to influence them, right? And my leadership demands that I'm able to influence all aspects of my organization in order for me to be effective. So if I have somebody who is looking for my weakness, but I'm not influencing them because I'm not proven vulnerable or open, even though it risks them coming at me, then I run the risk of not being effective as a leader. Right?
Connect with them.
Not able to connect. So here's where I would give you to consider. So the story goes that a guy goes to John and he says afterwards, John, I don't agree with that vulnerability thing. I don't believe you should ever show your weakness as a leader, right? You're the leader, you need to be in charge. And John says, okay, that sounds good. He says, but here's the thing you have to consider. Your group already knows your weaknesses. You acknowledging your weakness merely shows that you know them as well. That you know them as well. See, no leader is perfect.
That's right.
No leader is fully all strengths all the time.
That's right.
And so when I come to somebody and I say, hey, listen, because I could be like, no. But when I come to them and I say, listen, I see in you strengths in where I'm weak at. And so I'm just going to acknowledge this now, be my partner. As opposed to, let's pit ourselves against one another. I'm now connected with them. Because likely the reason they're gunning for me is because either they're mad or frustrated because they got passed over for a promotion opportunity, or maybe I'm just the new guy who showed up, or maybe that's the only way they've ever thought about advancing.
Right.
We have a lot of people who live in a dog-eat-dog, stab whoever, climb over top of whomever it takes to get to the top.
And a lot of times, like in ministry, you have like some people being groomed and they feel like if the pastor leaves or somebody else, and they always been set aside, and they think that they're going to be the ones to take up the leadership. But they get slapped in the face because, see, the congregation or whoever they done decided, well, they got somebody totally different, somebody totally new, and you done set yourself up because you been waiting for this opportunity, and bam, you get hit in the face. Well, here's Pastor so and so. So.
Yeah. And this is a big thing too. I mean, it's a big thing for me personally when I'm looking for that right hand, when I'm looking for that person who I know can go through, who will cover my weaknesses and be there if I'm vulnerable with them. I can remember a situation where I was at work in corporate America, and I was grooming a guy actually to be on my team. Because he was a young man. I really wanted to see him prosper. He was working hard to get his life right. He used to be on the street and on drugs. He really turned his life around. So I wanted to see him prosper. So I was grooming him. I was teaching him how to do the things. So we had a position come open on our team, and he applied. And I said, I'm going to be in the interview. So I definitely have your back. Just go ahead and be open. Just come with it. So I knew his background, but I was fully convinced that I could persuade anybody who had for him coming open. He got in that interview and said, oh, I know how to do this, that, and the other. My neck snapped around. I was looking at him real hard out the corner of the eye. Can you see my eye? When he left out that interview, you know who was the negative who burned him?
You.
bam. I burned him. I went right out that, right out that interview, and I told him, I said, I burned you. I said, the reason you're not getting that position is because of me. See, what you cannot be on the team is not being one who's willing to admit where you're at. Because we can't support each other like that. We can't use you on the team if you're not willing to admit your weaknesses. Had you come that way, which I did tell you to do, just come that, they knew you didn't have no degree. So that wasn't even what you were being regarded by, the fact that you were in there was because I had been training you. So you had a leg up. But because you would not be open, you would not admit where you were, I said, he's not the one for the team.
And you can see how that would be hard, right? Think about it from a parental perspective. How hard would it be to say I'm sorry to your child, right? You made a mistake, or you got, oh no, I know it was you, and then all of a sudden it turns out it wasn't them, to come back and say that. How hard is it as a leader to say to your organization, hey, I missed it. I thought this is where we need to go, or worst case, I hesitated to pull the trigger. We were all lined up to go, but I froze. It can be the hardest thing to be that openness and vulnerable, but we're talking about increasing your ability to connect, because everybody communicates. Leaders communicate all day. Parents communicate all day. People communicate all day. But we're talking about the few who connect. This is how I show I'm not the same boss you've had. You think about coming into a situation after somebody has been the boss, who was a negative kind of leader. Now you're coming in trying to change the culture, trying to change the environment. How do you connect with them? Or, in some cases, even worse, think about following somebody who was a successful leader. And everybo's like, oh man, brother so-and-so was just, I don't know what you gonna do. Because that was just, yeah, let's see. And they all sit back and look at that.
But that kind of leadership, a person can never live up to it because you're always being judged.
And so, exactly, the risk comes with trying to live up to it. But if I understand that I'm seeking to add value, then I'm going to connect with you. That yes, brother so-and-so was awesome at this, and I'm not even remotely going to try to be brother so-and-so. But that doesn't mean that I don't have something to offer. And that my experiences and our new experiences together won't take us to another level. Does that kind of make sense? So this is why connecting becomes so important. And openness is such an important part of that. Did you?
Only thing I keep hearing the word is transparency.
Yes, very much.
That's like, the transparency, sometimes that can be a very hard thing to do.
No, definitely.
Being transparent in front of people, not knowing how they receive you.
Definitely. And that's why it's important that we connect, though. Because the strength that's formed from our ability to be transparency allows our organizations to flourish at the highest levels. All right, so let's keep going. Increase communication. All right, so when I'm connecting, increase communication, they express themselves more readily. All right, so I'm going to spend time with you. I'm going to make sure that whatever is unclear is clear. That if we need to spend a little extra time working through this vision, working through my goals, our steps that we're intending on accomplishing, I'm going to do that in order to increase my influence. All right, enjoyable experiences. They feel good about what they're doing. Enjoyable experiences. They feel good about what they're doing. And then finally here with connecting signals, emotional bondedness. They display a connection on an emotional level. So again, you should have unsolicited appreciation, unguarded openness, increased communication, enjoyable experiences, emotional bondedness. All right, we got a couple more on the next page, so we'll flip over to the next page. All right, so at the top here, positive synergy. Positive synergy. Their emotional batteries are charged by being together. So one of the things that comes with having those good experiences, that open communication, spending time and showing that that unsolicited appreciation, developing that emotional bond, is that when we come together, it's something more. It's something more than just, hey, man, what's up, bro? It's been a minute. You know? it's more than that. It's bro hug. It's like, man, how's your wife doing? How's the kids doing? You know, man, how's work going? It's, are you excited about here? Yeah, man, we about to put this work in today. Like, this is, it's deeper. It's that synergy that comes from all of us being together. Their emotional batteries are charged with being together. Then growing synergy, their effectiveness is greater than the sum of their contributions. And this is the beauty of us together as a team of leaders who connect, because now, since my organization covers my personal weaknesses, and each and every one of us covers each other's weaknesses, we're just a team of strength. We're just a team of strength. So now, this entire strength organization is making a huge impact. And we, of course, have seen probably the synergy picture, right? 5 fingers, you know, balled up becomes a fist, and a fist hurts a lot more, right? When you hit somebody than an open hand. And so it's the same effectiveness level that's brought when we as individuals who are covering each other's weaknesses with our own strengths are now effective as an organization in our community, creating much impact, whether it's our ministry, whether it's our business, whether it's at home, having the same goals, working towards the same things. I enjoy being around one another. And this doesn't mean that it's never going to be a problem, all right? It doesn't mean that there aren't going to be times when we argue with one another. But that goes into our last one, unconditional love. They are accepting without reservation. Unconditional love. They are accepting without reservation. I love you, man. I love you, man. You know, like, in all that you are. And that kind of goes back to that beauty of transparency. See, like, when there's unconditional love, it frees me to be transparent. It frees me to open up. It frees me. And the reason why people don't want to share, because they know you don't really love me. You just out for my job. You just out for my position. So I don't want to be open to you. But when I'm connected with you, when our organization works at a higher level emotionally, when we're bonded together, when we're in synergy with one another, we can accomplish some great things. Okay, so George Rodriguez, the bank robber. Let me get somebody to read this. It's kind of a funny little story. Go ahead.
George Rodriguez was an Old West bank robber from Mexico who operated along the Texas border around 1900. Rodriguez was so successful that the Texas Rangers established a special force to try and stop him. Late one afternoon, one of these special rangers saw Rodriguez slipping across the border back into Mexico and trailed him at a discreet distance. He watched as the outlaw returned to his home village and mingled with people in the square. When Rodriguez went into his favorite cantina to relax, the ranger slipped in and managed to get the drop on him. With a pistol to the bank robber's head, the lawman said, is it George?
Yeah.
George Rodriguez, I know who you are. I've come to get back all the money that you have stolen from the banks in Texas. Unless you give it to me, I'm going to blow your brains out.
Kind of deep.
Rodriguez could see the man's badge, and he could discern his hostile intent, but there was a problem. He didn't speak English. He began speaking rapidly in Spanish, but the ranger couldn't understand what he said because he didn't speak Spanish. Just then, a young boy came up and said in English, I can help. I speak English and Spanish. Do you want me to be a translator? The ranger nodded. The boy quickly explained everything the ranger had said. Nervously, Rodriguez answered, tell the big Texas Ranger that I have not spent a cent of the money. If he will go to the town well, face north, count down 5 stones, he will find a loose one there. Pull it out and all the money is behind there. Please tell him quickly. The boy looked back up at the ranger and said, Senor, George Rodriguez is a brave man. He says he is ready to die.
Because I'm going to get that
You got your wrong translator. That's all I
Lost in translation, right? Oh my goodness. When I wrote that, I was just mildly impressed with that dude. Quick thinking on the spot, like, yeah. ready to die. Okay, here we go. The ability to connect with others begins with understanding the value of people. Understanding the value of people. The ability to connect with others begins with understanding the value of people. Jim Collins, author of Good to Great, observes, those who build great companies understand that the ultimate throttle on growth for any great company is not in markets or technology or competition or products. It is one thing above all others, the ability to get and keep enough of the right people. That kind of makes sense, right?
It makes sense.
Organizations that are built on individuals, having the right ones around you will ensure that your team is growing, your organization is successful and impactful. Jay Hall of the consulting firm, Telemetrics, has studied the performance of 16,000 executives and found a direct correlation between achievement and the ability to care for and connect with people. Here are a few of his findings. This is going to be things for us to continue to look at when we're developing our connectedness. So high achievers, we'll start with the high achievers block. Cared about people as well as profits. Cared about people as well as profits. So now these are organizations that are successful, that Jay Hall found 16,000 executives he talked to. And the ones who were high achievers were able to connect and care with their people, so they cared about people as well as profits. Viewed subordinates optimistically. Viewed subordinates optimistically. Alright, sought advice from those under them. Sought advice from those under them. And were listeners. High achievers were listeners. So high achievers cared about people as well as profits. High achievers viewed subordinates optimistically. High achievers sought advice from those who were under them. And high achievers were listeners. Now your average achievers, on the other hand, concentrated on production. Concentrated on production. They were more focused on their own status. Average achievers were more focused on their own status. They were reluctant to, and that should be, accept advice from those under them. They were more reluctant to accept advice from those under them. Meaning the last one, they listened only to superiors. Then finally, low achievers were preoccupied with their own security. Low achievers were preoccupied with their own security. They showed a basic distrust of subordinates. They showed a basic distrust of subordinates. They didn't seek advice. They didn't seek advice. And they avoided communication and relied on policy manuals. They avoided communication and relied on policy manuals. Okay, so let's talk about those just for a minute. So, our high achiever group. Actually, let's start with the low achiever group, right? Low achievers, it says, were preoccupied with their own security. Okay? That kind of makes sense.
That makes sense for a little achiever, because if that's all they execute, they won't get very far.
Exactly. Exactly. And think about it. This is why in organizational leadership, we talk about the difference between leaders and managers. Right? Managers are more focused on, hey, nothing can change. The output at the end of the day has to be exactly the same. You know, I don't know any other way but to say you did bad if you aren't doing the job. And definitely this idea of unsolicited appreciation or telling somebody, hey, you're doing well. No, just get those numbers, get it accomplished. Right? Those are people who aren't comfortable in themselves. Now, it's okay if as you're going through some of these, if you see some of yourself in there. All right, the whole point of this is that we're developing our own leadership skills. So if you know that you're like a low achiever kind of person, that, oh man, no, I'm worried about keeping my job, all right, that's understandable, okay? But my point in our position is that you become worried more about your people, and you'll see them take care of you and your job. All right, so low achievers were preoccupied with their own security, showed a basic distrust of subordinates, right? They didn't trust the people they worked with. And probably because they felt like, if I'm vulnerable, somebody's going to come and get me, okay? And we've seen that, I'm sure. Didn't seek advice. You ever have that boss who you know?
Just ask somebody, he don't know, just ask.
Exactly, exactly. Don't want anything to do, can't be, you know, the one to ask for help. We going to do it this way. I had stories, love it. I had a platoon leader. When I was out at Fort Bragg, and this guy, we run a lot in the 82nd. We run all the time. And so we would have to run this 5-mile loop. We called it a stable run. And so he liked to just take off. 5:30, 6-minute mile pace for the first mile. I mean, it's out there. Everybody just running, full out. Okay? He would die after the first mile. That was it. He didn't have, but it's a 5-mile run. And every Monday was the same 5-mile run. And every Monday he would take off for that first mile. And after about 3 miles, or after about 3 Mondays, we didn't run that hard after him anymore. Because we knew exactly where he was going to die. And then we would, this was what was worse though. Once we caught him, he wouldn't let us pass him and keep going. So our 5:30 mile, 6-minute mile pace dropped to a 13-minute mile pace. And now, why can't we just go ahead and keep going? The NCOs offered him advice. Hey, sir, we don't have to run this fast. He didn't want to hear any of it. And so he didn't seek advice. It's the moral of that story. All right, avoided communication and relied on policy manuals. And we've all probably experienced that. Well, the manual says, go read the Bible book. Well, the manual was written 10 years ago. So we don't even, well, you're going to do it this way today. And so these are our low achievers. You can understand why they fall into that category. All right, now our average achievers were focused on production. Concentrate on production, ensuring, only that's their number one thing. Hey, where's the numbers at? Where's the numbers at? Where's the numbers at? Where's the numbers at? How many did we get accomplished? They were focused more on their own status. Their production was how they justified their status. Look at me because I've got them achieving this much. We did 110% today. Who was responsible for it? This guy right here. Exactly. Who wants to work for that? Who wants to be a part of that? Yeah, let me ask this. What does that look like in ministry? Okay, well, yeah, right. Okay, well, what's an example of that in ministries? We want to identify traps in thinking or thought process. So, anybody got an example of what that might look like? You're in charge of the ministry group, or somebody's in charge. You've been around someone who was concentrated more on their production in church, in the church perspective.
You might see, I'd say like on praise team or something like that.
Okay.
If the praise team performed well, I was drilling them, man. I drilled them on that move. I drilled them on that move. I drilled them on that move. I taught them that note, and we sang and we sang and we sang. I made that happen.
Right, exactly, exactly. And you can see that, like with the choir directors, right? No. Let's do that again. Way up. Dear Jesus. Lord, by this cross I must bear right now. Right? More focused on their own status and their production. All right, we're reluctant to ask for advice from those under them and listen only to superiors. The only person who can tell me something is pastor. Pastor ain't said it? Nah, don't try and tell me. I don't care what you gotta say, mother. The only pastor can tell me. All right. Average achievers. Okay, we want to be like the high achievers. All right, cared about people as well as profits. Cared about people as well as profits. Viewed subordinates optimistically. Why would that matter? Why does the way you view your subordinates matter?
You never know what they could do.
Okay, so you don't know what they could be, and you don't know, so you have to kind of pick your viewpoint beforehand. So why does it matter? Because see, the low achievers, it says, showed a basic distrust of subordinates, but the high achievers viewed subordinates optimistically.
Because then you can encourage them more. You can make opportunities for them. You can give them a chance. And you'd be more likely to give them a chance if you view them as, oh yeah, they're going to try it. They're going to do it. But I want to see them. They can do it. You give them opportunities to succeed when you feel optimistically toward them. Or if you just feel like, oh, they can't do nothing, you're not going to turn over any of the reins. You're not going to even trust them to do what they could do. But as long as you're viewing them off, oh, I know, and you'll go out of the way to push them when you know and you feel like, I think they can do a little bit more. I think they can handle some more. So you're going to go back to them and say, hey, I need you to do this. Can you do this for me? You're going to give them more of an opportunity.
Which will motivate them. Somebody's not motivated with somebody who don't want them to work for them or just have distrust of them. It's like, I don't want to be here.
Right, exactly. Exactly, and that's where connection moves past communication. Does that kind of make sense to everybody? Who wants to work for a boss who's like, you're going to mess up anyways? I had a boss tell me, he said, you're doing too well too fast. I would rather that you didn't do so well so that when you crash, because it gets hard, then I won't have to pick up the pieces so much. I'm sorry. So clearly, the process, right? As opposed to the potential of viewing optimism. Hey man, wow, you're doing really good out here. How are you doing that? Let's tweak this process so that we can sustain what you're doing. And you can see how the difference will, cause you to want to perform or not perform.
Right. I had a boss who said to me often, when we would go in for review time, and he would sit down and he would have my reviewing him in front of him, and he'd be very frowned up and be looking like, I don't even want to give you this review. This just doesn't make any sense. And I'm sitting there waiting to go through my review, and I'm like, really? It's just not possible. Can't nobody be this good. And he's just looking through my peer reviews and the reviews from his team members. He said, there's nobody. She gives us her total attention. She makes us feel like we're the only customer. She goes above and beyond. She does this and that. There's just no way. Nobody's that good. Nobody. Okay, if that's how you feel. Should I give you more money?
That's what you said. That's what you said.
I used to say, oh, okay, if that's how you feel.
I had one that did that to me. We worked midnights. I worked midnights and he worked days. It's the captain.
Okay.
So he did the same thing with mine, and I'm sitting there looking at. And he said that, and I said to him, with all due respect, you don't even know me.
Right.
You work day tours. I work night tours.
Right.
I don't call for a superior when I have to handle something.
Right.
I didn't get in no trouble.
Right.
No, of course not. He didn't. But he knew my ability because I was the team.
Right.
He knew I handled that business. Right. That's how you feel, okay? But I mean, I didn't write that.
Right. Other people
I didn't put that there.
Right.
And the thing about it is I would imagine in both those situations you have felt more disconnected from that person afterwards.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so that is where you see the difference between a high achiever and a low achiever. Because a high achiever is not threatened by the successes and the abilities of their team. In fact, because I look for you optimistically to be great, I'm not surprised by your greatness and I encourage it. Because I'm looking for the next person to replace me from a leadership perspective. And even most importantly, kind of as we talked about, since I'm looking to add value to you. And I'm looking to add value. So if I see you handling business like you are, I should be looking to see how can you replicate those efforts. Who are you mentoring and training up? Maybe I need to put you in a position where you can duplicate that effect so that we can have greater impact. The same thing. What is it that you're doing that's got everybody saying these reviews? Why did this is so surprising because you're the first one I've seen like this, not because it doesn't match up with what I've seen from your character. But those are different leadership styles. And the leadership that we should be bringing to it is one where we view our subordinates with that perspective. Hey, your future greatness. Hey, your future awesomeness. Hey, let me put you in a perspective where we can grow. Hey, let me put you in a perspective. And probably most of us have experienced it when it wasn't that way. And which, of course, causes us to be frustrated. But that's why we're talking about everyone communicates, you connect. These are the little things that are really big things in the long run, but that allow you to connect and cause your organization to flourish. Moving our leadership lids from 3s, 4s, and 5s, so our organization can move up correspondingly. Says high achievers were listeners. Those reviews was communication from everybody in the organization about your skills and your abilities. The leader could have listened to that and taken that into consideration and said, wow, I've got some tremendous talent under me.
Right.
But instead, they distrusted and they didn't want to hear anything from anybody who was below them, listening only to their superiors, and consequently, the organization wasn't as much as it could have been. Anybody got any thoughts about any of that? Okay, so question. Do I connect best one-on-one in a small group or with an audience? Excuse me. Do I connect best one-on-one in a small group or with an audience? All right, so you can keep that. All right.
So is that the same as what you prefer to do, or
Right, so
you do?
so it's both. It's both, and you can separate it. You can put like where I am, what I think, and then preference what is that I want to do. I'm kind of going for it. You don't have to answer that right now. Save that for your review later on, and we'll go ahead and go to session number 2. All right, so session number 2 is just 2 pages. Connecting is all about others. If you haven't gotten that yet, all right, if you haven't gotten that yet, connecting is all about others. I'm focused on others. I'm focused on the members of my team. I'm focused on my group. I'm focused on impacting. When you're a leader, you are trading your life, right, for other people. And we see this lived out in Jesus. We see this lived out in the example of so many different leaders that we've had the chance to look at. People who make impact in others' lives. Gandhi impacted others. Martin Luther King impacted others. President Obama impacted others. People who are great leaders impact others. Connecting with others, replicating our efforts, impacting and changing the world. Of course, we've all probably seen this comic before. There's no I in team, but there is an M and a me, or M and an E, and that spells me. All right, no I in team, but there is an M and a me. Zig Ziglar says, if you first help people get what they want, they will help you get what you want. There's real truth to that. It's a hard truth sometimes, and especially depending on where we are.
Right.
You know, it can be a very hard truth. But if I'm investing in helping you get what you... Now, how do I know? Here's the question. How do I know what you want?
By connecting.
By connecting, by communicating, right? By spending time with you, by really getting to know you, by being transparent. So many people really want somebody to just sit down with them and take the time to find out what are your goals, what are your passions, what do you want out of this organization. I was talking with a guy and we were just talking kind of about different leadership ways, and one of the things he said he does is he sits down with each person who comes to start working at his organization every 6 months, and he says to them, how is what you've done the last 6 months helping you accomplish what you want to do in the next 6 years? How is what you've done the last 6 months helping you accomplish what you want to do in the next 6 years? And if you're spending that kind of quality time with each and every one of your people, you will have great people who enjoy working with you and being a part of your team, and then you won't be surprised when they move on to other positions, which is sometimes frustrating for a leader, right? Somebody comes and like, hey, by the way, I got this new opportunity, here's my 2 weeks notice. You're looking all surprised, like, I thought you was going to be here forever. I was assuming you'd be my successor. But the problem is you never communicated that to them. They didn't know. And of course, because you never invested in finding out what they were trying to do, you had no clue they were looking at other options. They say that that's one thing that's big with the new millennial generation, that they'll go from a job every 3 to 4 years. I'm collecting experiences. Some people refer to it as life resumes. I'm collecting these different options. Well, if I'm not spending time finding out what is that you're looking to do, how can I be surprised when you know? Excuse me. Okay, so why am I focused on myself instead of others? Immaturity. The immature leader is focused on myself instead of others. Why am I focused on myself instead of others? Immaturity. All right, somebody read this. Maturity is what?
The ability to see and act on behalf of
Others.
others.
Exactly. The ability to see and act on behalf of others. Now, this idea of assigning immaturity to being focused on myself instead of others makes great sense when we think about children, right? Little kids. You have a son? He's little. How old is Judah? 2. Judah's 2, right? Perfect age for when is he willing to share? Right. Exactly. Most kids aren't willing to share anything. My 3-year-old daughter, she ain't willing to share anything. We'll say, what do you want to see on TV? She'll pick out what she wants to see. They'll be like, all right, now it's your brother's turn to pick out what he wants to see. She'll just go pick out what he wants to see. If he tries to pick something she doesn't want to see, I don't like that. I don't like that. And immediately, I just tell him, well, you don't have to watch it. And now, I'm not surprised by this because she's 3. You're not surprised, he's 2. We call that immaturity. But that is surprising when you're the leader of a group.
Oh, yes.
It is very surprising and annoying, and you probably won't be the leader too much longer. And especially, don't come focused on yourself when you're trying to connect with people, when you want to influence them. But if we're called to influence, and we're called to add value to people's lives, we have to be able to connect with them, and we have to be mature. The ability to see and act on behalf of others. Ego. Number 2, ego. And I'm going to need a reader for the next page. Let me get a reader for this next page. Okay.
Your ego has become a wall between.
Hold on. You got to say, dear speaker, it's the letter.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Dear speaker, your ego has become a wall between yourself and me. You're not really concerned about me, are you? You're mostly concerned about whether or not this speech is really working. About whether or not you're doing a good job. You're really afraid that I will not applaud, aren't you? You're afraid that I won't laugh at your jokes or cry over your emotional anecdotes. You are so caught up in your issues of how I am going to receive your speech. You haven't thought much about me at all. I might have loved you, but you are so caught up in self-love that mine is really unnecessary. If I don't give you my attention, it's because I feel unnecessary here. When I see you at the microphone, I see narcissist. Is that narcissist? Mm-hmm. At his mirror, and is your tie straight? Is your hair straight? Is your department impeccable? Is your phraseology perfect? You seem in control of everything but your audience. You see everything so well, but us. But this blindness to us, I'm afraid, has made us deaf to you. We must go now. Sorry. Call us sometime later. We'll come back to you. You're real enough to see us after your dreams have been shattered, after your heart has been broken, after your arrogance has wrecking your despair. Then there will be room for all of us in your world. Then you won't care if we applaud your brilliance, or you'll be one of us. You'll be one of us. Then we'll tear down the ego wall and use those very stones, building a bridge of warm relationships. We'll meet you on that bridge. We'll hear you then. and all speakers are joyously understood when they reach with understanding.
From
Your audience.
your audience. All right. Great job. Thank you. Dear speaker, your ego has become a wall. How many people have ever experienced a boss whose ego has become that wall? Right? That came up, right? That sense of, I know it all. I'm king, be up in this piece. Right? There's nothing that you can say to me. There's nothing, you're going to laugh, ha 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 ha. I'm really just here to grace you all with my presence, though. But a stepping stone to my next promotion. I'm headed on your backs to greatness. Thank you for that. I know, it sounds terrible.
That sounds powerful.
And it takes coming to that realization that they talked about later. Call us sometimes later when you're real enough to see us after your dreams have been shattered, after your heart has been broken, after your arrogance has reckoned with despair. Then there will be room for all of us in your world. You won't care if we applaud your brilliance. You'll be one of us. Then you'll tear down the ego wall and use those very stones to build a bridge of warm relationship. We'll meet you on that bridge. We'll hear you then. When people leave organizations, when they quit your team and they don't want to have anything to do with you and you can't figure out why, a lot of times it's because you've never connected with them. The speaker who can't connect with his audience is just wasting the audience's time. They won't come back to hear it again. The people who work for you in a team who leave, sometimes leave because you're not connected. We probably all work for bosses who never connected with us. They didn't know our name, they didn't know anything about us, they didn't know our birthdays or any of that stuff. And it's really hard to imagine, like, we've been working together for 6 months, 6 years. Like, seriously? Right, exactly. Exactly.
And you can tell those bosses that go out of their way to do that. You know, I can remember walking out of my job one time, it was a weekend, and the CEO of a company, he came out at the same time. He said, "Hey, how you doing? You work for Claims?" I said, "Yeah, how are you?" You know, I knew he was. We were walking to the cars together. He said, "You got any big plans for this weekend?" I said, "Well, yeah, yes and no." I said, "It's a hair weekend." He said, "A hair weekend?" He said, "What's that?" I said, "I have 2 little girls." I said, "I'm going home, I'll be braiding hair all weekend long." He said, "Oh, okay." He said, "Do you do those long braids?" So we started having a hair about braids and beads, walking to our cars with the CEO of, you know, a Fortune 500 company. You know, he's interested in me and my little girls. And then every time he saw me, he was like, "Hey, how the girls?" Whatever. You know, because he took that time. He could have not even spoken, just like, you know, many of them would have at that time. And then, you know, when you have that kind of whole attitude and people walk away from you, ministry-wise, somebody was telling me about a pastor who has just had that reputation for being kind of above the people. And somebody recently told me that this year he had a kind of humbling experience. So he was up to be one of the speakers for the 7 Last Words. And I was actually very interested to hear him. Unfortunately, I had to leave. But I was wanting to hear him because I heard that he had went through a little transition this year. So I wanted to see how that had affected his speak.
Right.
His connectivity.
And those experiences in life are the things that change us. But we can avoid having to have that humbling experience per se by just choosing to be a connector. Choosing to take down that own personal desire. Don't get me wrong, it's easy to get there. If you are working with people, if you are successful in your organization and you're adding value to lives, it can be easy for people to begin telling you how awesome you are and how great you are, and you to think to yourselves, "That's right, I am." That's right, I truly am tremendous. I'm truly the reason why. You know, and then slowly but surely. So it has to be an intentional focus on your part to ensure that you're accomplishing it perfectly. Number 3 says immaturity. To add value to others, one must value others. Immaturity. To add value to others, one must value others. So on a regular basis, as I'm striving to connect, as I'm considering how I'm going to impart my vision, how I'm going to set my goals, how I'm going to build my team, there's 3 questions that I can ask. Question number 1, question number 1 to help as I'm considering these, do you care for me? Does my team know that I care for them? Would they answer that with a yes? Would they be like, maybe consider your boss right now. Do you feel your boss shares that they care for you?
Okay, come on.
All right, number 2, can you help me? Can you help me? From a leadership perspective, have you considered how they can help you? Have you acknowledged your own weaknesses? Because we all have weaknesses. Right? We talked about that previously. Know yourself, to thine own self be true. We all have weaknesses. Can you help me? Can you help me address those issues? Can I help you accomplish your goals and dreams? And then finally, number 3, can I trust you? Can I trust you? Do I know you well enough to trust? Some people you can't trust, but you just don't know them well enough. But again, we're talking about connecting. So can I trust you? Can I get to know you? Can I move us from this place where we're just kind of here to the place where, you know what? Yes, I can trust you. Key concepts: connecting begins when the other person feels valued. Connecting begins when the other person feels valued. Not when you feel valued as the leader, but when the other person feels valued. When the other person thinks you matter to them. Question: what can I do to increase my value of others? What can I do to increase my value of others? So we got 2 questions to consider. Do I connect best one-on-one in a small group or with the audience? And then what can I do to increase my value of others? We talked about quite a bit today, right? Yeah. We have looked here at this idea of everybody communicates, few connect, from a perspective of understanding that we all have a leadership lid, and that we have to grow our lid in order to grow our organizations. And that communication is something that everybody does, but connecting is something that few do. The reason few do it is because it takes work, because we have to be intentional, because it takes things like unsolicited appreciation and a willingness to be open. We've looked at what high achievers do and what moderate achievers and what low achievers and CEOs, and where their focus was the person or whether their focus was the process. And so it behooves each and every one of us to choose to value the person, to choose to connect with the person, to choose to communicate effectively, and then spend time getting to know that person. Like Zig Ziglar said, when you are focused on helping others get what they want, they will in turn help you get what you want. And I just truly believe that that's the way God intends for us to do it, in the way that we are most effective, being by giving our lives for other people. Oftentimes we see this picture in the Bible about not hiding your light behind a bush, but putting it up on the hilltop where people can see it. And that's important often because that's where it's at its highest point, and people can see it and people can be impacted. But I can get to that hilltop with somebody, not alone. Even Jesus, as he carried the cross, didn't go to the top of the hilltop by himself. But the man by the name of Simeon came along and bore that with him as he made it up. Much the same way each and every one of us needs somebody to come alongside, a team of somebody, to help us get to that place where we can be together shining our light. The synergy of the 5 fingers becoming the fist that allows us to knock out whatever obstacles come our way to accomplish our vision. All right. Any questions, final comments, thoughts? All right. I hope that this has added some tremendous value to you all. Now, the beautiful thing is you get 3 weeks to let this marinate and soak inside of you and everything like that before we come back together again. We will be back together for the next section here on the 19th of April this month. So instead of the 26th, which is when we would normally have met, we're moving to the 19th because we have women's retreat for the 27th and 28th. So it will be the 19th of April this month as we'll continue looking at Everyone Communicates If You Connect. I highly encourage you either to pick up a copy of it, or you can get it on Audible for like $11.99 and listen to it. Real easy read, but definitely action-packed, and then you can come and share what you have as well. I appreciate you all coming out tonight. Thank you very much for your comments. It was just truly better because you're here, right? I'm genius, but you know, you all make it even better.
We might need to get a new leader.
I'm just teaching leaders. I just teach. But I invite you to bring a friend. Thanks to all those who came out for the first time. Great comments. For those of you who made some comments. And again, looking forward to seeing you all again next time. So if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and close out in prayer.
Well, I just a great lesson, and I want to just echo him and just encourage everybody to bring somebody out. If you thought this was a good lesson and you really learned something, got something, think about the people who you want to add some value to by encouraging them to come. Say, hey girl, hey guy, you really should come. You'll really get a lot out of it. You know, if you want to use the skills that you just learned and add some value, you know, show your leadership skill by sharing it with someone, that'd be awesome.
Can we see these videos?
Yes, so they're going to be, yep. The only reason I haven't posted the ones from the previous 2 weeks is just I didn't have the first one. So I had the second one uploaded, but they'll all be out by the end of the week.
And then like your handout, like next time I can't come. So.
Right, yes.
But not, you know,
We're going to be gone.
Right.
That's why we changed it.
we leaving the 27th, not the 26th.
So y'all get a good night's sleep.
Well, some of us going to be laboring, so we need friends.
I just want
But
to.
yeah, we'll get the handouts via email.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. All right, so let's pray. Father God, we just thank you for this day. Thank you for this time. Thank you for each and every person who made their way out. Lord, we ask your angels to protect us as we head back to our homes and our destinations. Keep us. Lord, we pray for those who are yet to come out this way, those who may watch this online, Father, that you would just be with them and bless them, God. And that you would just cover them. Lord God, cover each of us. May we learn. Lord, we ask for opportunities this week and this month, Lord God, to add value to others, to shine your light, Lord God, through the way we communicate with one another, through modeling Jesus and servant leadership, God, and as we, Lord God, have the opportunity to raise our lid, Lord God, may our organizations rise and may you receive the glory. God, for ultimately that is why we are doing this, that we might be impactful for the kingdom, and that we would grind for your glory, God. So we thank you for it. Thank you for another day. We got another opportunity, and we thank you for this time. Keep us safe until we're together again. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I hope you guys got something out of it tonight. Thank you.
Oh, my bad. I shoot you right.